Welcome, brothers and sisters, friends and family. Much love to everybody who is a kingdom warrior, everybody who has their eyes to the prize, everybody who doesn't smell or taste like this world and who is a set-apart entity, an entity that has been ordained and called upon by the creator of the universe. And what a responsibility that all of us have as created entities that have been given imaginable brain power, fingers of articulation that can build and dream and sculpt things, that can turn things on and turn things off, 2 legs that are able to stand us up and to move us around and to walk from point A to point B. We have been given the gift of life, and we have been breathed into us the breath and the soul of our Creator. We have been built in a perfect form, and we have been set within a terrarium style environment that sustains us. And as we breathe out oxygen, or breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, all these plants and animals and things around us, they breathe that in. They breathe in what we breathe out, we breathe in what they breathe out, and it is an incredible system. It's an incredible design, obviously created by an incredible designer who has loved us so much that before us, he has presented us with a instructional set of guidelines. He says, starting on page 1 of the most incredible scriptures that you can ever find anywhere, this is what we're reading from is the Yah Scriptures, but on page 1 of any scriptures anywhere, we start learning the heart, the mind, and the soul of our Creator. We start and we understand by his instructions to his people, we can glean and we can understand and we can get knowledge and understand that all of those instructions are good instructions. All of these instructions that our Creator has given to us are things of extreme value. When he says we should multiply, when he says we should be fruitful, when he says we shouldn't have invalid weights and measurements, we shouldn't rip our fellow mankind off, we shouldn't hurt the old, we shouldn't put a stumbling block before the disabled, we need to love the prisoners in chains. We have all of these amazing, incredible commands that are within scriptures, but then we have an entire lie concept that we have been given, and they give it a name called religion. And they said in this religion that if you want to be this sect, then this is what you will believe. If you want to be part of this sect, this is what you're going to believe. If you want to be a part of this or that, this is what we believe, and this is the doctrine. That's the thing with every single one of these registered religions that come before you, is that they have traditions of men. Anytime that you take a piece of paper and you write down what do we believe, and what we believe is contrary to what scriptures say, then you're in a cult. That is something you wouldn't want to be into. When we are going against the ways and wishes of our Creator, then we're causing chaos in our own lives. When we neglect dietary guidelines and call all food clean, we do that at the detriment to our own health. We will get sick. We will eat things that human beings shouldn't be eating. But we've been told all of this. And instead of nailing the best part of the entire book to the cross, which is the laws, which is the instructional guide for human being life, a technical manual that will lead us through life, that will help us run and dictate our families. It will help us be better businessmen. It will help us be better family men. It will help us be better fathers. It will be better mothers. Everything that is in scriptures is for all people, for all times and all generations. When people tell you the laws of our Creator are dead and gone, your eyes should go crossy. You should all of a sudden go and your red lights are going off, and there's the danger, Will Robinson, danger. Something is not right. The reason all of us need to read the first page of scriptures and go through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy over and over and over, at least 5 times to begin with, as a base foundation. Once you do that, then you're equipped to deal with the rest of scriptures. And as you go through the rest of the scriptures, all of the foundational basis that you've read in the first 5 books apply all the way to the very end of the book, as well as the Apocrypha. Now, the Apocrypha means hidden. And there is a tremendous amount of books that back up absolutely everything in the regular scriptures, and they've all been pulled out. You have the Catholics that have pulled out books. You have the Protestants that have pulled out books. You have this group of people that pulled out books. The King James pulled out different books. And by the time you're done, you end up with a 66 version, right? So Yah Scriptures is the greatest English translation you will ever find of scriptures, and it is available. And currently it is in print. It is a limited edition print. It is large print so that you are able to see your scriptures and read without hindering your eyes. This is the largest version of scriptures that you will find anywhere, and it contains 103 books. It has all of the regular 66, along with all of the rest of the hidden books that have been pulled out. And along with that, it has the name of our Creator, and it's restored. So instead of the pagan name God, you now have Yahuwah. Now, that's not even the least of it. You have right here, you have the name of our Messiah, Yahushua, Yeshua. I don't think there's any reason to argue at this point when we can see it in Paleo-Hebrew because we know what it is, right? This is what you get in Yah Scriptures. And what we are able to do with Yah Scriptures is we're able to get a scriptures into our brothers and sisters in the U.S. prison system for everyone that people are able to get. And so the value in getting what I consider the greatest English translation ever is that you're able to help us help those in chains. Now, you can get this absolutely free, and the version we're reading out of right here is absolutely free of charge on yahscriptures.com. This is the Google version. Works on tablets, phones, anything Google Android style. At yahscriptures.com/downloads is where you can also get the eSword modules. You can also get several other various formats that are available, all free of charge. And so you can follow along with this. And what we're reading out of right here, we're reading out of the very last book of the Yah Scriptures. That's the book of Khalidi. And we finally made it out of chapter 9 for all of you guys who've been reading along with us. I think we're going to make a little faster tracks here in 10 because last chapter we were talking a tremendous amount what Messiah was talking about. Here we're in a little bit of a story mode for the first little bit. And so this is one of these books that should be probably Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Khalidi, because this follows in the exact timeline. It goes all the way through to execution as well, to when they hang him on a stake, our Messiah. And so this is yet another testament, another testimony of literally the same stuff, a lot of the same stories, but we can glimmer and get a ton more out of it. So with that, let us begin. And again, much love to everybody out there. Thank you again for everybody who's hanging out and who does these readings. A lot of family out there, and we really appreciate all of you guys. And to everybody who's gotten Yah Scriptures, thank you guys so much for helping us out with this vision, with this ministry, and trying to get these scriptures into prisons. Okay, and have a correct, legitimate copy of scriptures into the assembly. Here we go. Chapter 10, verse 1. Some days later, Yahushua was in another place. And for those who do not know who Yahushua is, that's our Messiah. The letter J was an invention into the 1500s, which is why in the 1611 it went from IESUS, which is what they had our Messiah's name, which is, it literally says ISIS. And then they took it to Jesus, which is, son of Zeus. And then people will throw daggers at you when you try to tell them that the name is not Jesus. But I don't think that's a salvation issue, but I think it's something that when we're looking and trying to figure out scriptures and understand it, we want to get as close to the correct truth as possible. So, some days later, Yahushua was in another place with about 60 Talmidim, which are disciples, one of whom said to him, "There is Yahushua, the faster, who claims to be Hamashiach of Elohim, and Yosef, who proclaims deliverance by the sword, while many say the enlightener and deliverer are two men." The gale of words makes it difficult to get a bearing on the harbor entrance. All right. So out of the 60 different disciples that are hanging out listening, this one says there's a guy named Yahushua. Now, this Yahushua is the same spelling as Joshua, the Canaanite killer, right? The guys the leader of the tribes of Yisrael right after Moshe. This is the same spelling, and this is the same thing. So we have a guy that in English you would say Joshua, but again, there's no J's, so it's Yahushua. And this is where this is where we, or at least I, like the spelling of Yahushua, because I think it's YAH. Is the proper spelling, but again, that's only English. So when I'm arguing even names or anything of the sort, it doesn't really matter, because it's Paleo Hebrew, and we have that above that. So we have his name in Paleo Hebrew correct for sure. So there's a guy, Joshua the Faster, Yahushua the Faster, and this guy's out here saying he's Hamashiach of Elohim. Then you have Yosef, who proclaims deliverance by the sword. So you have two separate people that are both saying that they are Hamashiach, right? And this is not Yahushua, right? We're talking about another guy named Yahushua who is doing things and fasting and also claiming to be this. So in this day and age, there were a lot of people saying they were the Messiah, a lot of people saying they were the way, when it's obvious the Messiah was standing right before them. But he says the gale of words makes it difficult to get a bearing on the harbor entrance. And so this is ship talk right here. And so he's trying to figure out how do we navigate? What is the proper understanding of what we're seeing before us? So Yahushua said, things are changing, and many alive today will live to see a different world. I come to set men free by removing the shackles of ignorance and to deliver them from evil and from themselves. So everybody that was around, unless they died within the next whatever time before Messiah died, everybody there literally lived to see a different world. After the death, burial, and resurrection of our Messiah, and that veil on the temple being ripped, and the entire Levitical priesthood basically shifting away from man, shifting out of the hands of man into the hands of our Creator and the hands of his Son. That is what, people probably didn't realize it, and it probably took years and years and years, and we're lucky enough to be preserved to be able to see all these great words and stories together to figure this stuff out. But Messiah is very, very honest, and what he's doing is the shackles of ignorance is the same thing that I would consider these cults, these so-called religions. When we have a doctrine of man that is governing our life and is contrary to what scriptures are, that is shackles of ignorance. We just can't get past it. That's why people will scoff at you. And on YouTube, Christians scoff at us all the time. It's like they will come by and they will defend the love of the pork. They will defend the love of Sunday worshiping the day of the sun, Sol Victus. And it's just, they laugh. They scoff at you like they have the answers. And I used to have those same answers, right? When I was in the cult of Christianity, I was saving people all the time. I don't know how many people I probably sent to hell by being a good Christian and just ministering the Christian way, right? The Romans road to Christ, a system of salvation that doesn't really exist in scriptures. It doesn't exist at all. And it's sad. It's sad, the stuff that I did in my past, that I led men so far astray by being in that cult. Because for any of us that have come out of it, you understand that our mission is just like in Jehovah's Witnesses, right? When the people come out of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're like, yeah, this is definitely a cult. They knew that they couldn't say things outside of the norm or they would be kicked out of various things. And you can't go into a Christian church. You can't say things like the laws of our Creator are good. They'll like mock you and kick you out. And they're like, this is not for you. Get out of here. So that's just shackles of ignorance, right? Continuing on 3. Hearing this, many of the Talmudim left, and Yahushua said to those who remained beside him, do you also wish to go your way? So we know that there was around 60, right? 60 people that were sitting there, and Messiah says things that probably trips them up, right? Saying things like removing the shackles of ignorance. A lot of these guys that were seeking him probably didn't think they were ignorant. A lot of us don't even know we're ignorant, right? Coming out of religion, we think we know it all. And then when we try to back it up, what we know, all we can do is go to some preacher guy who just breaks out Paul, right? Laws are no more. Paul's letter to a people that is not you, to a time that is not yours, replying to a letter you didn't write, and we don't even know what they wrote. And so it's crazy people put doctrine to that, but here we are. Now, lots of people left, right? His people all left. Kepha, Peter, answered, for all. Adonai, your teachings excel those of others, for they carry the hope of eternal life. Kai, we believe you to be the chosen messenger of Yahuwah who speaks with his voice. We accept what you say because it responds to the yearnings of our hearts. Yahushua said, we all make mistakes, and though I have chosen unwisely with others, I have not been mistaken with you. These are some things that, we get stuff out of the book of Khalidi that we don't get out of other books. There's a lot of stuff like we don't know a lot of the personality of our Messiah. We know his love for humanity. We know his love for the Torah, for his Talmidim, for all of his disciples. We know certain things, but here we hear the human side of him, right? We all make mistakes, and though I have chosen unwisely with others, I have not been mistaken with you. This is the Creator's plan made flesh. This was having the Creator's Son live a life as troubled as humans live, and not having a edge, right? He didn't have an edge because he's the Son of the Most High. The edge that he had is because he knew he knew the Torah, but that did not help his life, right? Obviously, we can sit back and it's incredible to hear Messiah talking about, there were 60 people that were just there, and he made a mistake. He made a mistake through that. And, there's nothing in the Torah that you can't make a mistake, right? As humans, we make mistakes all the time. And it's not breaking Torah. It's just us learning and figuring things out. And I just found that very fascinating, that this was a personification of the humanness in our Messiah. Continuing on 6. Yahushua did not proclaim himself to the people according to their understanding, and devoted much time to the teaching of the Talmidim. This concerned mainly the coming rule of the Elohim. But to 12, he taught many hidden things, for there was knowledge suitable only for a few. And if only you could have been a fly on the wall, as you could sit here and listen to the stuff that our Messiah was telling the people that understood. And it's clear through the life of our Messiah when he ran parables everywhere. People don't get it. And I am one of these people that will spit it too straight, too hard, and people either get it and take it, or they reject it and they get angry and they want to fight. I just keep it real. Messiah had a way of keeping it real with telling stories, things that people are able to unravel in their mind that hopefully can unlock their eyes and open their ears so that they can truly see things. And so Messiah had a way about him, an articulation, a speaking style, and an understanding of Torah so well. It would be amazing to hear what he had to say. Continue on. 7, he said to them, you are among those entitled to know secrets concerning the rule of Elohim. But to those who are not numbered among the elect, everything should be explained simply and in parables. It is truly written in the sacred books. They may see with the eyes and be deceived, and hear without understanding. But if they would only turn to Yahuwah, their ignorance would be wiped away. Now, the thing I didn't talk about in the last one is it talks about the rule of Elohim, right? The talking about it. The coming rule of Elohim is one of these things that we have the rapture theory, or the Christian exit strategy, that nothing is going to come. The tribulation is not going to have to happen. They're going to be whisked away before some antichrist comes and takes them to school and puts the mark of the beast on their head. And you know the Christian rhetoric, right? And they have Daniel completely confused, like the Daniel 70 weeks and various things. They've taken this. There's things that like the temple, the 80-70 temple that was taken over. People still think that's end time prophecy when Messiah was talking about, when people are coming when they're coming in your city to run, don't come back. It's over. Whatever you do, don't be in this thing. And that was right after he died. This event actually happened. It's nothing about the end of time. So people are very, very, very confused. But the rule of Elohim is the kingdom to come. When we talk about scriptures, when we read scriptures, there's a supernatural city of Elohim, like a city that's alive and well and functioning, that's going to come down and it's going to sit on top of Mount Sinai. And it's going to be something that is one second. So as this supernatural city comes down, our Messiah is going to come down and be a part of this. He's going to be the leader of this thing. There will be a second Exodus. There'll be all sorts of stuff. The scriptures talks about all of this, and it comes at the end of 6,000 years, right? And it could be in this lifetime or the next lifetime, but we're getting to the end of it. It's definitely not many, many, many lifetimes. So wherever it is, the coming rule of Elohim is on its way. And so what he was telling his disciples were things about the end times, right? Talking about what it's going to be like, what it's going to look like. Because we have a 6,000 to a 7,000 year reign where Messiah's down and the evil just get eviler. The people just get wilder. Everybody hates Messiah and everybody hates Yahuwah more. They hate his laws more. It's just it's even eviler than the world that we even know, which is simply astounding at the level of crazy. So, continuing on, and again, he reiterated here about the parables, and some people just weren't ready to hear things, straight up. The last piece of this right here, when he says, they may see with their eyes and be deceived and hear without understanding, but if they would only turn to Yahuwah, their ignorance to be wiped away. Well, that's the question. How do you turn to Yahuwah, right? And it's not in man-made religion. It's in the first 5 books of scriptures. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It is in those 5 books that we learn the ways of our Creator. We learn what His instructions are for us and for our families and for everything. And when we start walking this for real, and it's not just a read it, and it's a read it. It's Shema. It's hear and obey, right? It's why we go over the Torah laws every Shabbat, right? If you come to our channel on Shabbat, it's around 11 o'clock. We will be reading through all the laws, statutes, and commands, about 158. And if anybody's in the chat wants to discuss them, we talk about them, we show love to them, and it's something that we're supposed to know. And so this is our chance that we can go over them ourselves and go over them with everybody else. And those are the things that if we apply to our lives, our Creator puts us into what is called a covenant. We become a covenant people. Hebrews 8 applies to us when we are in covenant. Jeremiah 30 and 31 applies to us, right? Which is the setting of Hebrews 8. So let's continue on. How have we done so far? 23, we're doing good. 8, making tracks, folks. Okay, then Yahushua appointed the 12 as emissaries to go out among the people and proclaim the things he had said. The 12 were Shimon, renamed Kepha, Yaakov, and Yochanan, sons of thunder, Andri, Serendidis, Philippos, Bardrush, and Bartholomew the stranger, Mattheyahu the Luite, Toma, son of Jonas, Thaddeus, called Lebios before he came, Jacob, son of Alphaeus, Yahuda of Kerioth, and Shimon of Canaan, the Zealot. So there's the people right there. Kind of different naming on some of these guys, but it gives you sons of thunder, or interesting stuff we have not heard before. Okay, 9. Yahushua sent them out with these instructions. Avoid Shomeron towns. Keep away from places where the people are being stirred up for strife, but go to the Yahudim wherever they are to be found. When entering a dwelling, Give the greeting, shalom, be on this house. Okay, we've heard this before, right? We've heard about villages and towns and things that don't give peace, and then we kick off the dust. We try what we can, but this is the same stuff that we hear in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The essential building of the disciples, the Talmudim, that are instructed to go here. They're instructed don't go into places of strife, right? The little villages or issues that are going on in certain places. Avoid the Samaritan towns, the Shomeron towns. 10. I know that you are being sent like sheep delivered to the wolves, for you do not bear the message expected by the people. So be careful, always alert, cunning as serpents and harmless as doves. Same message for all of us today, right? We are delivered to the wolves. If you ever want to have a pack of wolves laugh at you, talk to a whole bunch of Christians. Sit there and tell people the laws are no good. You will have a pack of if you tell the people of Christianity the laws are amazing, that are simply amazing, they will turn that around and say they are no good, and the wolf pack will take you to school. It doesn't matter. You're in Christianity. You're just programmed to have the laws being done away with. Like you're not very grateful to our Creator for anything because you don't give a rip what His laws are. So, same things we've always heard, right? Cunning as serpents, harmless as doves. This is nothing new. This is why this book is just the same stuff we heard before with just extra cool stuff that we're hearing now. Beware of those who would bring you before their courts, and do not concern yourselves about what to say. For when it becomes necessary, you will receive inspiration from the Ruach HaKodesh, and words will come. This is literally line for line almost, right? Messiah talks about this before. We've heard about it before. We've had other people that are writing these stories tell us the same stuff. And I've seen this before. I've seen this we took on a pedophile group about, I think 5 or 6 years ago. We took on a bunch of groups. There was a Christian guy that was he was part of this little Christian group, and down here we have all sorts of little Christian groups all over. We were running an organic food store at the time. And so this little Christian group, they went and knew about this guy who was teaching in their little Sunday school thing that he had basically a boy. The kid was, at the time he was 14, 15, and everybody knew about that, and everybody in this church group had grown up with this child, and they now knew that this guy who was openly basically gay had a child, and they knew it. Well, this guy ended up getting beat to death, like literally viciously beat to death, and like 9 of these people in this Christian group all pointed to this kid who literally had been trafficked to him. And what's crazy is one of this Christian group moved back to the States, got on YouTube, and basically put a confessional box out on how they all knew that this one guy was a pedophile, and they had all confronted him, but yet at the same time, instead of ever saying this to the cops or anything, they simply railroaded this indigent boy who was completely indigent. So we went and got the kid an attorney and got a couple of us who were like Torah keepers down here. And we spent $15,000 because he had murder charges on him, and he was underage. So that made things even more difficult. And so they ended up not getting him for murder, but they ended up because he ended up with some sort of cash that this old man had given to him when he was married to the man. This is what the old man was. He was married to this kid, and they were going to get a house together. So this old man was taking money off his ATM, giving it to this kid. And that was the money this kid had ended up with, which was not the money that this old man had. But nobody ever cared. Nobody ever said a word. Now, here's the rub, is the attorney that was this kid's, when we pulled GPS records from this kid, he was over 2 hours away from where this old man got beat to death. So these 9 people have kept this kid in jail, and he'll actually be out of jail at the beginning of next year. They kept this kid from 15. He's a grown man. They transferred him out of youth. He's in a normal prison. But because of the money that he had before, that the cops just didn't believe that he had been groomed, he had been trafficked, and there's a pedophile ring. So how did this happen? So I ran out of space telling the story, but this is where we're going to end right here. What happened was I took these guys to school on YouTube, and so one of the guys in the group, his name was Mark Hornish, and I went on YouTube, and Mark Hornish was another teacher in this group that all knew about this guy having a underage child as his bride in this house down here in third world country. Now, Mark Hornish, I went on YouTube and I said Mark Hornish was a demon. And I said, this guy knew all about this. And so there was like 100 Christians that were in this group that all of a sudden blackballed us. They didn't want anything to do with us. And we weren't part of the Christian group anyway. But we used to have organic food. We used to do computer work for them. And they all of a sudden, because we went on the attack against them, obviously they didn't want to hire us for anything, which we didn't care because we didn't want their Gentile funds. So going on with this Mark Hornish guy, Mark Hornish went and did a lawsuit against me for $100,000 for calling him a demon on YouTube. Now, this went on I had to get an attorney for myself as well. And good thing down in third world countries, they're a lot cheaper. But what happened was he went on for a long time. And then all of a sudden it disappeared for a while. We didn't know what was going on. And we were fighting for this other kid at the same time. So they were trying to silence us with this lawsuit. And then one morning, about 6 o'clock, I hear a whole bunch of trucks, and we live way out in the middle of the jungle. And I told my wife, sounds like they're probably coming for me. And that they did. There was 5 trucks, 20-some guys jumping out, and they thought they were gonna take on the pack. And they saw all the dogs, at which point they stood outside the gate and asked us if we could contain the dogs. And I said, okay, that's not a problem. And so anyway, they came and they tossed my house. They tossed everything, everywhere. Wedding dress that I hadn't seen in 25 years. My wife flying from the cedar dress all over. They were trying to find absolutely everything. They walked away with nothing. They walked away with nothing. And as they were leaving, I gave them all. I had a box of Bibles, and I ended up, after they trashed my house and did all that stuff, I ended up giving them Bibles, and they were so ashamed. They all looked completely down on the ground. And these Bibles were in Spanish. They were old King James Spanish Bibles I was giving away back in the days. They all looked really, really sad and ashamed that they had just done this pile of trash because they had produced a fake warrant. And you see, I was out in the middle of the jungle. We don't shoot things out here. We haven't. What the warrant said is that we were out here shooting guns and firing weapons all times of the night and making a ruckus, and all the neighbors are scared. Thing is, we don't have any neighbors. And the thing is, the only 2 neighbors we have within whatever distance are friends of ours that always come down for water and things when they don't have water because we have wells and they don't. So anyway, it was a complete setup, and it came from this group of 100+ Christian group. And so here, let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about Mark Hornish. So anyway, we didn't hear anything from Mark Hornish for a while, right? And then we thought it was over, and then all of a sudden he came back and with a fury and started suing us again for me calling him a demon on YouTube, again trying to shut us down. So Mark Hornish is walking down the road, right? And all of a sudden, homeboy has a heart attack, falls straight on his face, cracks his face. He's dead, completely dead. This entire Christian group is completely astonished and astounded. Years later, this Christian group told me I owed his wife an apology, Mark Hornish's wife an apology. And I said, I don't think I owe anyone an apology. I said, you guys, every single one of you guys railroaded this kid into prison. And pretty soon this kid is going to come out, and I haven't had a time at all to ever even speak to this kid because he was underage in a third world country, and they're not going to let no gringo come talk to him. So when this all comes out and we actually know the full story, it's going to be very interesting. But a lot of people did a very, very bad thing. And that's why I always say you got to be very careful with Christians. They will allow anything to go on because they don't have a set of doctrine. They don't have a Torah. They don't have anything to govern their lives by. And so if you're going to get ripped off, it's going to be by them. Got to be careful. Much love to everybody out there. Sorry for taking us all out in the weeds. This is an interesting story. Much love to y'all. I'm out.